Good afternoon, all. It's me, Arlene J Ramsey, CEO and founder of Everyone Let's Talk. This segment, I will be addressing some of the Tommy Sotomayor fans who commented on the post up I did 2 weeks ago called "Tommy Sotomayor is Not for Everyone." You know, fellas, some of you have proven that some black men are just as irrational as some black women. You have also proven that some black men are just as petty as some of the black women in which you complain about. Some of what you pick and chose to argue about has absolutely nothing to do with the actual problem in which I spoke about. And it is also the epitome of what I call petty warfare. I mean, just picture you in a relationship bringing up those points when your woman is telling you about something else. The argument or the debate or whatever it is that you want to call it, the dialogue will stray away from the actual problem into foolishness and folly, which is the same thing, foolishness or folly, but it will stray away from the actual problem into folly, which can give you no resolve for the actual problem. And that's what we do as people. Many of us spend too much time moving away from the truth and talking about things you choose to talk about because you don't want to face the truth and the reality of your actions. Okay, now we all know the cliche thing. If it don't apply, let it fly, right? So if it did not apply to you, then you should just let it fly. Now I don't have any hurt feelings in regards to any of what you've commented on because it doesn't pertain to me. And also if it did, that was a long time ago. And I, yes, me, as a black woman, have self-reflected and have learned how to make some corrections in regards to my character and my ways. Okay, because we're, of course, that's cliche again, but we're not perfect. All right. And one thing I always say, one of my good quotes is not that we have good and bad ways. It's if we can be spoken to about them or not. And if we have the willingness to want to understand and change. That's the problem. And what I see in some of the comments and some of the things that you chose to talk about, many of you fellas do not have the willingness to understand or change some of your ways. All right. So it's not all on the black woman, as I have stated in that post up. It is not. And you have proven just that. Also, there is a fellow who said that, what was his comment? His comment was, he said, why don't you talk about, went along the lines of, why didn't you mention that the reason why some black women have a problem with black men is because they never had their fathers in their lives. Let me tell you something, fellas. It's not that simple as the woman not having a father in her life, okay? It's not that simple, all right? So now I'm going to fix you, all right? Yeah, a lot of them don't have a father in their lives, and a lot of them have been told all sorts of things by their mom about their father. Women, I'm going to tell you again that we're going to have to cut that out, but later for that. I've done a post up in regards to that, but later for that. Fellas, here's what I want to tell you. A lot of these same women have been molested or have been gone through some type of abuse, right? Right. And I talked about that in that recording as well. But you guys skip over that. You didn't talk about abuse, but you focus on the petty crap. So now I'm going to fix you because you do know per statistics, right? Who do most of the molestation, the molesting, the mental, the verbal and physical abuse? Men are the common denominator for all types of abuse going across the board. It's you guys, not women, right? So, since many of these, per statistics, many of these black women have gone through some type of rape, some type of molestation, some type of other abuse, which were by men, typically, because you are a male, you will have similar characteristics anyway because you guys are the same sex. But I can only speak for myself when I was broken, and for women who may see things in the same type of way as I see things. When I was broken, a man who had similar characteristics as my uncle who molested me, I had no respect for him. I wanted nothing to do with him, and I went far away from him, opposite direction. That's why I haven't been in a relationship really for years. That's why I don't have children. It's why, again, I haven't been in a relationship for years, and it's why I don't have children, because I have come across plenty, and I'm not going to say all, because of course I've never had all men, and I've never been in many relationships. But just in the beginning or courtship, I tied cut ways and gone about my business. There are just too many fellas that I've come across who have similar ways as an abuser. Now, for when a woman is accustomed to being abused, she can spot a person who has the tendency to abuse. And I'm quite sure some women don't realize that they're doing this because you don't realize what you're going through. Sometimes you don't realize what you're thinking. I'm able to speak on this because again, I'm healed from it, and this is something that I do. I get into the psyche of a person. So this is why I can speak in this type of way. But it's some of your actions. It's the things you do. It's the things you don't do. It's the things you don't stand up against. Because again, you're going to have conversations with this woman. And if a conversation come about, and let's say the topic is abuse or rape, and there's no outrage from you in regards to those type of topics, she's going to feel some type of way. And in her mind, you are similar to the man who molested or raped her. So it's not as simple as not having a father in her life. It's more of the fact of your characteristics and your ways. It reminds her somewhat of the person who abused her. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you, because some of you may say that that's crazy. It's not crazy. Anytime you have a man who's actually against that type of behavior and against that nonsense, he won't have similar characteristics of a man who's an abuser. Certain conversations, certain things that you guys talk about, certain things that come about, even when it comes to what he sees in the news or whatever, you're going to see his outrage because he's going to talk about it. That revolutionary spirit in him is going to come out, and he's going to make it clear that he is against that type of behavior, right? So when you have more men who are like that, then you'll also see more black women feeling comfortable to want to be around you. Okay? Now, if you think that what I just said don't make sense, let's flip it. Let's flip it for a second. How many of you are outraged about children being molested and raped and women being raped? How many of you men, as many men complain about black women and what black women do and what black women don't do, how many of you same fellas are outraged when it comes to molestation, sex, psychological abuse, physical abuse, any type of abuse? How many of you talk about that or give your opinions on that? And there's your answer right there. There's your answer. All right. And I've had this debate with a fellow where he told me, "Oh, molestation and incest is the same thing." Molestation and incest is not the same thing. So let me read the definition for you, if it's going to even allow me to, because sometimes my computer freezes, like it just froze. Oh, okay. Incest: sexual relations between people classed as being too closely related to marry each other. I'm going to read incest again. Sexual relations between people classed as being too closely related to marry each other. So here's incest. Let me give you an example of incest. You have two cousins that's probably around the same age. One's probably 13, the other one's probably 15, and that is what you consider to be incest. It's not how can I say, it's not against one's will. It doesn't make them feel bad. They're actually thinking wrong because they're related, but it's not something that's going to, how can I say, tear them down as people, rip their souls apart. Okay? That's incest. Now, molestation. Let me read molestation to you if this is going to allow me. The act of subjecting someone to unwanted or improper sexual advances or activity, especially women or children. Let me read molestation to you again. The act of subjecting someone to unwanted or improper sexual advances or activity, especially women or children. All right? I need, and not only I, many women need most more of you men to start standing up against molestation and rape and any sorts of abuse. Start standing up against that. I don't hear enough men again talk about that. And anytime abuse is brought up, you guys talk over that subject and you start talking about other things. You don't stay focused on abuse. And you don't stay saying, yes, this is something that we need to handle and we need to deal with. Most men I talk to, when it comes to molestation, talk over that subject as if it is not important. And if you talk over it as if it is not important, when we know per statistics, more women and little girls are being molested, that actually means that you're actually saying that little girls and women are not important. That's what you're actually saying. We aren't important. We aren't good enough to be protected. All right, so she was molested, she will get over it. That's what you're actually saying. Have you ever thought about that? No, I don't think you thought about that. Let's start looking at the bigger picture. Let's start being more outraged about things that matter and about things that can, how can I say, change a person's life for the better, for better or for worse. You know, let's start moving away from petty warfare and petty things that you choosing to argue about, which has absolutely nothing to do with the problem or nothing to do with what we discuss. As people, I understand, and again, when I was younger, I was one of those people who, sometimes debated anything. You couldn't win me in a debate. I debated anything. But then as I've gotten older, I've learned that some things just doesn't make sense. Not one. If I debate this is what I started asking myself. If I go in and debate that topic or debate that, what will be the outcome? Will there be a resolve? Will it change anything, or will it just be hot air or me typing real fast debating something? Let's become more aware of when we speak and when we write things, it is how can I say, marked as being part of a solution for something. I know sometimes we're going to have fun, laugh, have a good time when it comes to certain things. I know that, but what I'm saying is, when it comes to serious issues like this, let's start really taking it with a seriousness. Really. And again, fellas, I'm not bashing you. I'm not bashing you. But again, men are the common denominator when it comes to talking about abuse. And sexual molestation and rape, you guys take the cake on that. We need you to focus on being better men and focus on getting yourself away from molesting little girls. And some of you are so disgusting, you also molest little boys. You're disgusting for molesting little girls as well. I don't know what that problem is about. I don't know why you rape. But again, when you do, you destroy a woman's soul. You destroy a woman's soul. And God bless us. Because many of us, we somehow redeem ourselves, and somehow there's many of women who are married and have children and all those things and haven't really healed themselves. The next thing I want to talk about is most men, because this is definitely something that has been posed, whereas men think that they've suffered more and women think that they've suffered more. Let me pose something to you again. I understand that we grew up hearing that men shouldn't cry, don't cry, man up, don't show emotion, that sort of thing. And I understand how difficult that is for a man to do. But women have to do the same thing. You don't think so? Here's how. When a little girl is molested or raped, she's not to talk about it. It doesn't even exist. All right. I was saying earlier, when we talk about issues, no one wants to discuss it. So if no one wants to discuss it, that means that that little girl is not important. Okay? And how can I say? I'm not saying, what I'm saying is that it's kind of, when men have been told, man up, boys don't cry, boys don't show emotion, we haven't been told that because we haven't even been allowed to feel about being raped or molested. And some of us have been repeatedly molested for years. You have some girls have gone through it once in their lifetimes, it happened, and girls who live with the perpetrator, and this she has to go through repeatedly all her life. Yet for all, there's no retribution. Yet for all, she can't vindicate herself. She can't even discuss what she's feeling or what she's going through. It don't even matter. It didn't even happen. And how do you think that girl feels? And how do you think she feels when she grows up and becomes a woman? Hmm? That's something for you to think about. So, again, the next time you guys choose to complain about petty stuff, the grander picture and what really is going on in this world. Before you choose to critique me on what I'm saying in a video, actually pay attention to what it is that I'm saying in a video. Don't pick and choose the words that I used and choose to focus on those words. Okay? Because there's very seldom that I speak in absolute. I don't speak in absolute unless I am talking about a fact. And if the fact consists in an absolute, and when I say by absolute, I'm talking about the word, let's say, for example, all. Like a gentleman said when he commented it by saying that I said that Tommy Sotomayor spoke for all. I did not say he spoke for all people. I said Tommy Sotomayor is not for everyone. That's what I said. Okay? And again, very petty. But as I was saying, before you pick and choose to argue about petty things, let's think about the big picture. And let's think about becoming better people. Because as we become better people in this world, we also be better people in relationships. We also produce, we all have happier women, happier children. And I mean what I say. We need more men to stand up against abuse, molestation, and rape. We need more of you to do that. Because that doesn't make me comfortable to know that I can't take a stroll down the walk at nighttime. You know why? I don't need some man driving down the car that looks at me by myself and busts me in my head and wants and choose to rape me for walking down the street by myself at night. No. So when women feel certain ways about men, it's not just because she didn't have a father in her life. It's because of a lot of other things that has gone on in her life, and because men showing her that she have come in contact with have been showing her, and not only men she have come in contact with, but other men. Because listening to other men, it doesn't show where you guys are remotely even caring about what goes on with women. Another thing I'm going to bring up that I've discussed with men. You know, when women talk about having sex, if it's uncomfortable, if a woman tells you that maybe if you're too rough, if she's feeling uncomfortable, most men don't want to respect that. I've had a man tell me that, oh, you guys can have children. You have children that's 8 and 9 pounds, and you mean to tell me that having sex with me is uncomfortable? And I have to literally ask this guy, well, what do you think that women are? Do you think that we're just a rock? For one, yes, women, we can have children that are 8 and 9 pounds, but do you understand how traumatizing child labor is? First of all, a woman has to carry that child for what, 9 months? Okay, and then when a woman goes into labor, she's in labor for a long time. And when she's in labor, do you understand how much pain a woman is in when she's in labor? She's in pain. Now, if a woman is telling you that she's uncomfortable having sex with you, and she wants you to take things a little bit easier, why would you bring up the fact that she's had a child or she's made to have children, so having a child has, is not as bad as what I'm doing to her? No. Now, when it's that type of talk as well, what makes women clamp up. We clamp up because we think that you don't care to understand us. If we tell you that you're rough and we would like you to take it a bit easier, you turn around and tell us about how we can handle child pain and childbirth. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And before you even open your mouth to talk about childbirth, have you ever watched a video clip of a woman actually giving birth and in labor? Because if you have, I don't think you would say such a thing. For a woman giving birth, that's equivalent or nearly the same as damn near dying. I don't have any children, but I'm just saying from what I've heard and from what I've seen from, women giving birth, that's a very traumatizing experience. All right, fellas, we also need you to be a bit more understanding. Be receptive. You know, you don't feel what we feel, and of course, we don't feel what you feel. And again, this is not for all men. This is for the men who do say and speak what I just mentioned in this recording. It doesn't make a woman feel protected or feel like you care about us when you combat what we have to say with other things that we go through, which may be more traumatizing, because you're basically telling us that we should take the pain. We're here to take pain. if we're here, if God made us to be receptive or receiving of sex, it's not a big deal if a man rapes you because you're here to have sex anyway. If I'm a bit rough as a man sexually, that's not a big deal because you, you're made to have children. You've had gone through labor. So when is it that we get a break? When can we get a break and be put through some type of emotional and physical ease? That's the question. Something for you to think about. All right. Again, this is Arlene J Ramsey, CEO and founder of Everyone Let's Talk. I hope you guys really get the seriousness. Not all. This is for those who it pertains to. Get the seriousness of this recording, please. All right. Building better people one day at a time. Peace.